stood on the hill overlooking the green fields of New Haven. The morning sun painted the crops golden. He smiled. After 20 years of military service, he had finally found peace on this colony world. 50,000 people called this place home now. They grew food, raised families, and lived quiet lives far from Earth. Beautiful morning, isn't it? Walked up beside him, carrying her medical bag. She was the colony's chief doctor, always busy but never too busy to enjoy the sunrise. Every morning here is beautiful, said. Hard to believe we've been here 10 years already. Nodded. My daughter asks me about Earth sometimes, but honestly I barely remember it. This is home now. Down in the valley, children ran to school. His daughter was among them, her backpack bouncing as she laughed with friends. She taught at the elementary school. The sight made his chest warm. This was why he had left the military. This peace. This simple, beautiful peace. His voice crackled over his communicator. Boss, we've got something weird on the scanners. Ships coming in fast. Frowned traders. Don't think so. They're not responding to our hails, and there are a lot of them. Started walking quickly toward the administration building. Followed. Could it be a military exercise? She asked. We don't have military here, reminded her. That was the whole point. The Galactic Council promised us protection. No colony world needs weapons anymore. That's what they said. He had believed them. After 3 decades in the Galactic Council, humanity had proven itself peaceful, useful, good at trading and farming and building things. Other races treated humans like friendly neighbors. Sometimes they looked down at humans, called them weak. But there had been no wars, no conflicts, just peace. The administration building was buzzing with activity. Stood at the main screen, his face pale. They're not traitors, look. The screen showed massive warships, dark metal, bristling with weapons. Nothing like the peaceful vessels that usually visited New Haven. Who are they? Whispered. A message came through. The screen filled with a face that made stomach turn. The creature had 6 eyes, gray skin like stone, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, the translator made its voice sound cold and hungry. Humans of New Haven, I am Commander. Your world now belongs to the Empire. You have 24 hours to surrender completely. Bring all food, supplies, and valuables to the landing zone. Resist, and we will take what we want from your corpses. The transmission ended. The room fell silent. This is a joke, right? Someone said. The Council won't allow this. Was already on the emergency channel to Earth. This is Colony Administrator, New Haven. We have hostile forces demanding surrender. Request immediate Council intervention. The response took 3 minutes. When it came, it wasn't from Earth. It was from a Galactic Council representative, a thin creature with too many arms. Administrator, the Council has reviewed the situation. The Empire has declared your system part of their expansion zone. Per Council regulations, territorial disputes between species must be resolved without Council interference. Territorial disputes, voice rose, they're threatening to kill us. The Council deeply regrets this situation. We encourage diplomatic solutions. However, we cannot intervene. Good luck. The channel went dead. Slammed his fist on the table. They're abandoning us. We need to evacuate, someone said. Get everyone to the ships. We have 4 cargo ships, said slowly. They hold 200 people each. That's 800 people. We have 50,000. The math was simple and terrible. They couldn't run. They couldn't fight. They had no weapons. New Haven's entire security force was 20 people with stun batons. They had farming equipment and hope, nothing else. Open channels to Earth's government directly. This is New Haven. We are about to be attacked by the Empire. The Council won't help. We have no defenses. Please send help. Message sent, the computer confirmed. Travel time for response, 6 hours. 6 hours. They had 24 hours to surrender. Even if Earth sent ships immediately, they were 3 months away at fastest speed. Grabbed his arm. What do we do? Looked at the screen showing the warships. They weren't moving yet, just hovering there, waiting. We tell them we need time to organize the surrender, said. We stall. Maybe they will accept payment instead of occupation. Maybe we can negotiate. Maybe Earth will have a plan. He didn't believe any of it, but what else could he do? The next hours passed like a nightmare. Tried to reach the commander. No response. He tried the council again. They sent a message of thoughts and concerns, but no ships. Earth's government replied saying they were assessing the situation and would respond within 72 hours. 72 hours. His people would be dead or enslaved by then. At the school gathered the children. She taught them songs and games, keeping them calm while other teachers tried not to cry. In the hospital prepared supplies, though she didn't know what for. Armed his security team with the stun batons and stationed them at key points, knowing it was useless. That night couldn't sleep. He walked through the streets of New Haven's main settlement, houses with lights on, families holding each other, people praying to different gods, some packed bags they would never get to carry. He stopped at the school. Through the window he saw sitting at her desk writing something, probably a letter, probably goodbye. His communicator buzzed. Earth's military finally. Administrator, this is Defense Minister Minu. We've reviewed your situation, I'm sorry. We don't have ships that can reach you in time. Our fleet is positioned for Earth's defense only. The Council was supposed to protect outer colonies. We trusted them. So we're alone, said. I'm sorry, record everything you can. We'll make sure your story is told. That's it, our story. There was a long pause. Send us everything, every image, every transmission. Whatever happens there, we'll make sure humanity knows. I promise you that much. It wasn't enough. It was nowhere near enough, but it was all he had. When the sun rose on the second day, the ships began to move. They didn't contact New Haven. They didn't wait for surrender. They just descended toward the colony with weapons charging. Grabbed the emergency recorder and aimed it at the sky. His hands shook as the ships came closer. My name is Colony Administrator of New Haven. If anyone ever sees this, know that we tried, know that we asked for help, and know what they did to us. The first ship opened fire on the school. The explosion turned the school into fire and dust. One moment it stood there, full of 200 children learning their morning lessons. The next moment, nothing remained but smoke and screaming. His legs gave out. He fell to his knees, still holding the recorder. His mouth opened but no sound came. Had been in that building. His daughter. His bright, beautiful daughter who sang while making breakfast and stayed up late grading papers because she cared so much about her students. Gone, just gone. The ships moved slowly across the colony. They weren't in a hurry. This wasn't a battle. This was extermination. They fired on houses, shops, farms, anywhere people lived. The weapons made a sound like thunder, and everywhere they hit, people died. His voice came over the radio, desperate and breaking. Fall back, everyone fall back to the bunkers. Run. But there were no real bunkers, just basements, just holes in the ground that couldn't stop military weapons. People ran anyway because that's what you do when death comes from the sky. You run, even when running is useless. Was at the hospital when the second strike hit. She had been preparing the emergency room, setting up beds, organizing supplies. 50 injured people were already there, burns and wounds from the first explosions. She worked fast, barking orders to her staff, trying to save everyone she could. The ship hovered above the hospital. The soldiers inside could see the Red Cross painted on the roof. They could see it was a medical building. They fired anyway. The walls came down in sections, saw it happening in slow motion. The ceiling cracked. The lights exploded. Her nurses looked up, confused, not understanding yet. Then everything was falling, crushing, ending. She dove under a table, steel beams fell around her, dust filled her lungs. She heard screams, so many screams, then silence. When she crawled out, she was alone among the dead, her staff, her patients, all gone. The hospital was a tomb. But she was a doctor. Even covered in blood, even in shock, she grabbed what supplies survived and ran. People still needed help. She could still save someone. She had to. Made his stand at the town square. His security team, all 20 of them, formed a line with their useless stun batons. Behind them, 300 civilians tried to evacuate on farming trucks. Old trucks meant for carrying grain, now carrying children and crying mothers. A ground team landed. 12 soldiers in heavy armor stepped out. They saw the humans with their little batons and laughed. The sound came through their helmets like grinding metal. "Go," shouted to the civilians. "Drive now." The truck started moving, and his team charged. 20 humans with batons against 12 armored aliens with plasma rifles. It lasted 15 seconds. They didn't even bother with their guns for most of it. They just used their hands, breaking humans like toys. Died with his hands around one alien's throat, trying with his last breath to do something, anything. Behind him, the trucks made it 50 meters before the ships incinerated them. The aliens didn't want escapes. They didn't want survivors running to tell stories. They wanted a message. They wanted a lesson. They wanted the galaxy to know what happened to humans who refused to kneel. Ran through the burning streets. The recorder still transmitted, still sending everything to Earth. He had to keep moving, keep recording. If his people died today, the universe would know why. The universe would see. He found in the ruins of the hospital. She sat against a broken wall holding a dead child. Her hands were covered in blood. Her eyes stared at nothing. He said gently, "We have to move." "I tried to save him," she whispered. "I tried, but his injuries, there was too much damage, I couldn't." "I know, but we have to go, please." She looked up at him with empty eyes. "Where? Where do we go? They're everywhere. They're killing everyone." Explosions lit up the sky behind them. More buildings falling. More lives ending. The transmission station said, "If I can get there, I can send everything to Earth. Full data, every second of this, they need to see." Stood slowly. "What good will that do? Earth is months away. We're dying now." "I know, but maybe Earth will make sure this never happens again." They ran together through the ruins of their home. Bodies lay in the streets. Some were people knew, his neighbors, friends. He tried not to look at faces. If he saw someone he knew, he would stop. If he stopped, he would break. The transmission station still stood, damaged but functional. Worked fast, uploading everything. 6 hours of footage, the school exploding, the hospital falling, the massacre in the square, every crime, every death recorded and sent. "Upload complete," the computer said. "Message sent to Earth." Soldiers burst through the door, raised his hands, stood beside him, too tired to run anymore. The commander from the ship walked in behind his soldiers. The one who had given them 24 hours. He looked at the destroyed transmission equipment and made a sound like laughter. "Sending messages home?" asked. "How sweet. Tell me, human, did Earth promise to save you?" "We asked for help," said. "Yes." "And where are they?" gestured at the sky. "I see no Earth ships, no rescue. You are alone, and your world is ours now." "Why?" asked suddenly. "We would have given you food, resources. Why kill us all?" Tilted his head, genuinely confused by the question. "Because you are weak. In this galaxy, the weak exist to serve the strong. We take what we want. We kill who we want. This is the way things are." The council started. "The council does nothing," interrupted. "They write rules and hold meetings while the strong do as we please. 47 species bowed to the Empire. Your people make 48. "We're not bowing," said. Laughed. "No, you're dying instead. Brave but stupid. We gave you a choice. You chose this." The rounded up the survivors. 3,000 humans, all that remained of 50,000. They loaded them onto ships like cargo. Some people fought, some begged, some just stood there broken beyond fear, and were shoved into a dark hold with hundreds of others. The ship lifted off. Through a small window, watched New Haven burn. Every building, every field, everything they had built over 10 years gone in 6 hours. What happens now? Someone whispered in the darkness. They'll sell us as slaves, another voice answered. I've heard stories about slave markets. Maybe Earth will negotiate for our release, someone else said hopefully. Said nothing. He knew the truth. Earth had nothing to negotiate with. No military that could challenge no power that could frighten them. Humanity was weak, and the galaxy had watched them burn. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, carrying the last survivors away from their dead world. In the hold started to cry. Then others. Soon everyone was crying, the sound filling the darkness like a funeral song. Didn't cry, he couldn't, not yet. He kept thinking about the message he'd sent to Earth, the footage of everything. Part of him hoped it would change something. Part of him knew it wouldn't. But he kept thinking about it anyway, because hope was all he had left. What couldn't know as he sat in that dark ship, was that his message was already on Earth, already being watched by billions, already changing everything. The sleeping giant had opened its eyes, and it was angry. Minyu watched the footage for the 7th time. Each time he hoped it would hurt less. Each time it hurt more, the school exploding, children dying, the hospital collapsing, the massacre in the square, 6 hours of humanity being slaughtered like animals. Around the conference table, Earth's leaders sat in silence. Some cried, some looked angry, some just looked tired. They had spent 30 years building peace with the galaxy, 30 years being the friendly species that everyone liked but nobody respected. The Galactic Council has issued a statement, the Secretary General said quietly. They express deep regret for the tragedy. They encourage both sides to pursue diplomatic solutions. Both sides, Admiral slammed her hand on the table. 47,000 civilians are dead. What diplomatic solution do corpses pursue? The Council says it was a territorial dispute, the Secretary continued. They claim we should have negotiated before they arrived. We tried, someone shouted. We begged for help, they ignored us. Minyu stood up. Everyone fell silent. He was old now, 73 years, but his voice still carried the authority of his military days. He had been defense minister for 20 years, and for 20 years he had argued for one thing: military strength, real weapons, real defenses. The Council had told them weapons weren't necessary. Trust the peace, they said. Trust the system, trust us. I want to show you something, Minyu said. Something I've kept secret for 15 years. He activated the secure screen. Files appeared, marked with red classifications so high that most people in the room had never seen them before. Project Abyss, Minyu said. 15 years ago, I convinced a small group of scientists to develop weapons in secret. Weapons we would never use. Weapons just in case the peace failed. You developed weapons without authorization, the Secretary General asked. I did, and if you want to arrest me for it, fine. But first, let me show you what we built. The screen filled with technical data, designs, test results, video of weapons that made people gasp. Relativistic missiles, Minyu explained. Objects accelerated to 99% light speed. One missile carries the kinetic energy of 1,000 nuclear bombs. We have 200 of them. Next image. Biological weapons tailored to specific DNA. We've mapped 40 species in the galaxy. We can create viruses that only affect them, nothing else, precise, deadly. Next, AI-controlled hunter drones. They learn, adapt, and hunt targets autonomously. Release 1,000 drones, and they will systematically eliminate every enemy in a star system. Next, planetary mining charges. They burrow to a planet's core and detonate. The planet tears itself apart. The room stared in horror. Why? The Secretary General whispered. Why would you build such things? Because I read history, Minyu said. Human history. We spent thousands of years being peaceful until someone attacked us. Then we remembered what we really are, survivors, predators. I knew someday the galaxy would push us and we needed to be ready. These weapons are illegal under council law, someone said. The council watched our children burn, Minyu replied coldly. I don't care about their laws anymore. Admiral studied the data. She was the commander of Earth's defensive fleet. 27 ships designed to protect Earth, nothing more. Ships with light weapons meant for pirates and asteroids, not war. How fast can we weaponize the fleet? She asked. The Abyss weapons are already manufactured, Minyu said. Stored in deep space bunkers. We can arm every ship within 48 hours. And you want to attack the Secretary General said. It wasn't a question. I want to rescue our people, Minyu corrected. 3,000 survivors were taken. Then, yes, I want them to understand what they've done. I want the galaxy to understand what happens when you massacre humans. This will start a war, someone said. They started the war, shouted. They killed 47,000 of us. They're broadcasting the massacre as entertainment in their empire. Are we supposed to do nothing? If we do this, we can't go back, the Secretary General said. The Council will condemn us. Other species might see us as the aggressors. Minyu leaned forward. Let me tell you what I see. I see a galaxy that watched us burn and did nothing. I see allies who abandoned us. I see monsters who think we're weak. So yes, we can't go back. Good. I don't want to go back to being the galaxy's victim. The debate lasted hours. Some argued for more negotiation. Some wanted to ask the Council for another chance. Some suggested economic sanctions. But everyone kept coming back to the footage. The school, the hospital, the square. 47,000 faces that would never smile again. Finally, the Secretary General stood. Let's vote, all in favor of Total War Protocol. Every hand rose. Not one person voted no. Then it's decided, the Secretary General said. Admiral, you have full authority. Defense Minister Minyu, arm the fleet with everything we have. And someone send a message to the... The message was simple. It traveled across space to the Empire's border stations. Just one sentence in perfectly translated language. You have 72 hours to return our people, every single one. The commanders laughed when they received it. Humans making demands, humans threatening them. It was the funniest thing they'd heard in years. They sent back a video response. It showed the human slaves in cages being sold to the highest bidders. Come take them, the message said, if you dare. In Earth orbit, worked without sleep. He was the lead scientist on Project Abyss, and now his nightmares were becoming real. Every weapon he designed as a theoretical exercise, every horrific tool meant to never be used, was being loaded onto ships. Are you sure about this? His assistant asked, watching a relativistic missile being mounted. No, said honestly, but I'm sure about what happened at New Haven. We can feel guilty later. Right now we work. The fleet assembled, 27 ships, small by galactic standards. The Empire had thousands of warships, but size wasn't everything. Earth's ships now carried weapons that the galaxy had never imagined. Admiral stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Retribution. She was 52 years old and had never fired a shot in anger. She'd spent her career escorting trade ships and mapping systems. Now she was about to start humanity's first interstellar war. Her second-in-command captain approached. Admiral, all ships report ready. Abyss weapons loaded and armed. We're waiting for your order. Did they respond to our ultimatum? Asked. Yes, they said, hesitated. They said if we want our people, we can dig them out of the ashes. Closed her eyes. She thought about her own daughter, safe on Earth. She thought about and the other teachers and all those children. She thought about what would have happened if they had attacked Earth instead of New Haven. "Then we go get our people," said, "and we make sure this never happens again. Set course for the staging world, maximum speed." The fleet jumped to faster than light. Behind them, Earth held its breath. News networks showed the footage from New Haven 24 hours a day. People who had never cared about the colonies now wore memorial ribbons. Children who'd never heard of the drew angry pictures. Humanity wasn't united by love. It was united by grief and rage. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from 100 species gathered to discuss the human situation. "They're planning to attack the council leader said. "We must condemn this action immediately." "They asked for our help," one representative said quietly. "We did nothing." "The rules are clear," the council leader replied. "Territorial disputes." 47,000 dead is not a dispute, the representative shouted. "It's genocide." "Nevertheless, if humans attack, they become the aggressors. We will have no choice but to sanction them." "Sanction them for what?" "For being angry that we let them die." The council argued while Earth's fleet traveled through the darkness between stars. 3 weeks of travel time. 3 weeks for them to prepare. 3 weeks for humanity to wonder if they were making a terrible mistake. Minu received reports daily. They were mobilizing their fleet. They saw this as a joke, but they would crush it anyway. They were bringing 200 warships to meet Earth's 27. "We're outnumbered," someone said. "Numbers don't matter anymore," Minu replied. "We're not playing by the old rules." On the Retribution, Admiral recorded a message to send home. "To the people of Earth," she said, "in 3 hours we will reach space. We don't know what will happen, but know this: we're not the weak species they think we are. We're not the victims they made us. We're humans, and we're coming for our people." She ended the recording and turned to her crew. "Battle stations. This is where everything changes." The staging world, Prime, was a military hub. 5 billion soldiers trained here. 200 warships orbited the planet. Weapons platforms dotted the system. It was one of the most defended locations in the Empire. Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the scanners. The humans were coming. 27 tiny ships against his armada. He almost felt bad about what would happen. Almost. "Should we hail them?" his weapons officer asked. "Offer surrender." "No," said. "Let them see what power really means. When we're done, we'll broadcast their destruction across the galaxy. Everyone will know what happens to species who challenge the—" He didn't know that Earth was already broadcasting. Every human ship had cameras. Every moment was being sent home, then shared with every species humanity had ever contacted. Half the galaxy was watching. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the fleet form up. 200 ships against her 27. In any normal battle, this would be suicide. But this wasn't a normal battle. "All ships, this is Admiral," she said over the fleet channel. "Today we show the galaxy who we are. Today we bring our people home. And today we make sure no one ever mistakes our kindness for weakness again. All weapons free. Execute attack pattern Abyss 1." The human ships split into 3 groups. The commanders watched, confused. The humans were dividing their already small force. They really were fools. Captain commanded the Retribution's weapons systems. She was 38 years old, had 2 children on Earth, and had been dreaming of dead children from New Haven every night since the massacre. "Targeting solutions locked," she reported. "Relativistic missiles ready." Fire said. What happened next took 8 minutes. Later, military analysts would study the battle for years. They would call it the most one-sided engagement in recorded history. They called it impossible. The relativistic missiles launched. They looked like small objects, barely visible on scanners. The defensive systems tried to track them but couldn't. The missiles were moving too fast, accelerating toward the speed of light. When they hit like the hand of an angry god. The first missile struck a battleship. The kinetic energy was so immense that the ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment, a massive warship. The next moment, nothing but expanding gas and metal fragments moving at a significant percentage of light speed themselves. Those fragments became weapons. They hit other ships in the formation. Each fragment carried enough energy to punch through armor like paper. Secondary explosions bloomed across the fleet. Watched his fleet die. In 60 seconds, 30 ships were gone. The humans had fired 20 missiles. Each one had killed multiple targets. "Return fire," he screamed. "All weapons." The fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma weapons, missiles, energy beams. Enough firepower to destroy a moon. The human ships dodged. Not slowly. Not carefully. They moved with inhuman precision, like they knew where every shot would go before it fired. Because they did. The AI systems had built predicted trajectories, calculated angles, and guided the ships through the storm of death without a scratch. The second wave of human weapons launched. These were different, smaller, thousands of them. "Hunter drones," said quietly. "May whatever gods exist forgive us." The drones spread across the battlefield like a swarm. Each one was intelligent, networked to its companions, learning and adapting in real time. They found ships and attached themselves to hulls. Then they burned through armor and went hunting inside. On's flagship alarms blared. "Hull breach, Sector 7, multiple unknown contacts." Ran to the sector. His security team was already there, firing at something moving too fast to see. Drones, small as a human hand, quick as insects, deadly as sharks. They sliced through soldiers like they weren't even there. "Fall back," ordered, "seal the sector." But sealing didn't help. The drones cut through doors. They learned the ship's layout faster than the crew. They hunted with cold efficiency, killing anything that moved. "Made it back to the bridge. Order the fleet to fall back, we need distance." "Sir, we've lost 90 ships," the tactical officer reported. "The humans have lost 0. 0, it wasn't possible, but the scanners didn't lie. 27 human ships, still untouched, still advancing." "Broadcast surrender," shouted. "Sir," the communications officer looked shocked. "Now tell them we surrender, stop the attack." The message went out. Admiral received it and almost laughed. 6 minutes into the battle and the mighty were begging for mercy. "Continue the attack," she ordered. "We came for our people." The human fleet pushed forward. More missiles, more drones. The formation shattered. Ships tried to run, but the human vessels were faster. They chased down every fleeing ship, methodically destroying each one. On the planet below stood in a slave-holding pen with 3,000 other humans. They could see the battle through the atmospheric haze. Lights flashing, ships exploding. It was beautiful and terrible. "Those are human ships," someone whispered. "Earth came for us." "Impossible," another said. "We don't have a military that could do this." But they were watching it happen. The species that had slaughtered New Haven were being torn apart. A guard ran past, screaming in his own language. More followed. They weren't guarding anymore, they were fleeing. Looked at the other prisoners. "We're getting out of here, now, before the whole planet panics." He had been a soldier once before he became a farmer. The training came back. He organized people, found weapons from the abandoned guard posts, led them through the chaos. Was beside him, helping the injured, keeping everyone calm. Above the planet, the human fleet finished the armada. 197 ships destroyed. 3 managed to jump away, running for their lives. "Orbital bombardment positions," ordered. "Target every military installation. Leave civilian areas intact." The human ships moved into position. Precision strikes rained down. Weapons depots exploded. Military bases burned. The military infrastructure on Prime was systematically dismantled. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission," the communications officer said. "From the surface, its administrator." Felt her heart jump. "Put him through." His voice came through, rough but steady. We have 3,000 humans at the main slave compound. We've secured the area, requesting immediate extraction." "Hold position," said. "We're coming to get you." Landing ships descended. Watched them come down, saw the Earth flags on their hulls, and finally let himself believe it. They were saved. Earth had come, Earth had fought, Earth had won. The extraction took 2 hours. Every human was brought aboard, checked by medical teams, given food and water. Many were injured, all were traumatized, but they were alive. Sat in the medical bay, helping the ship's doctors. Her hands shook as she worked. She was used to treating burns and broken bones. She wasn't used to treating people who had watched their world die. "We got them all?" she asked. "Every single one," the ship's doctor confirmed. 3,000, just like the intelligence said. On the bridge, Captain approached Admiral. "Admiral, the planet is secure. All humans recovered. What are our orders now?" Looked at the planet below. 5 billion lived there. Soldiers, yes, but also families, children, people who maybe hadn't wanted this war. "Send a message to Prime's government," said. "Tell them their military is destroyed. Tell them we're leaving. And tell them to watch what happens next." "Next, sir. We're broadcasting something the galaxy needs to see." What the galaxy saw was a human admiral, standing in front of a camera, surrounded by rescued humans. Behind her, through the windows, the burning military installations of Prime were visible. "I am Admiral of Earth," she said. 47,000 humans died at New Haven. 3,000 were taken as slaves. We asked the Galactic Council for help. They did nothing, so we came ourselves." She paused, letting that sink in. "In 8 minutes, we destroyed the fleet at Prime. We rescued every single human prisoner. And now I want to make something very clear to the Empire and to every species watching." Her voice got cold. "You killed our children. You broadcast their deaths as entertainment. You thought we were weak. You thought wrong." Behind her, something appeared on the screen. Targeting data, coordinates, weapon signatures. "This planet has 5 billion people on it," said. "I could kill them all, right now, with weapons you've never imagined. I could strip the atmosphere away and leave this world dead." The galaxy watched, horrified. "But I won't," continued. "Because we're not like you. We don't massacre civilians. We don't kill for entertainment. We're better than that. But know this, if you ever touch another human colony, if you ever harm another human child, we will come back. And next time we won't show mercy." She stepped closer to the camera. "You wanted to see what humanity really is. Now you know. We're not prey. We're not victims. We're the species that warns you once. This is that warning." The transmission ended. Watched it from the ship's common area. Around him, other survivors sat in silence. They had seen Earth's power. They had seen what humanity could do when pushed far enough. "Is this good or bad?" someone asked quietly. Didn't know how to answer. They were saved, they were defeated, but something had changed. Humanity had shown its teeth. The question was, what would the galaxy do now? The Empire fell in 43 days. It wasn't a war in the traditional sense. Wars have battles, strategies, treaties. This was extermination of a military force. Humanity moved through space like a surgical blade, cutting out every threat, every weapon, every ship. Admiral's fleet grew to 70 ships as Earth sent reinforcements, but they didn't need more ships. The 27 originals were more than enough. They visited 40 worlds. Each time, the pattern was the same. Arrive, destroy the military fleet. Target military installations only. Leave, move to the next world. They tried to fight back. They threw everything at the humans, ancient weapons from old wars. They had been developing. Alliances with other aggressive species. Nothing worked. Human technology was 50 years ahead of anything the galaxy had seen, and it was technology designed for one purpose: total war. After the Seventh World fell, the Empire tried to surrender. They sent diplomats, offered tribute, begged for mercy. Admiral refused to meet with them. "We'll talk when you're disarmed," was all she said, "not before." The galaxy watched in horror and fascination. The Galactic Council called emergency sessions almost daily. They condemned humanity's actions. They called it aggression, imperialism, genocide. Minu spoke at the council once, and only once. He was old and tired, but his words cut like knives. "You watched our children burn," he said. "You did nothing while 47,000 humans died. Now you condemn us for rescuing our people and destroying the military that killed them. Your condemnation means nothing. Your laws mean nothing. Your peace meant nothing when we needed it. So keep your opinions. We don't need your permission to protect our own." He walked out. Earth never returned to the council chambers. By day 30, the military was broken. They had lost 70% of their warships, 90% of their orbital defenses, and every major military installation. Their empire still existed, but they couldn't project power anymore. They couldn't threaten anyone. On day 43, humanity arrived at the 6 billion lived there, including their government, their leadership and commander, who had ordered the massacre at New Haven. Admirals' fleets surrounded the planet. Every weapon was armed. Every system was ready. One word from her and the would burn. The government surrendered unconditionally. They agreed to every human demand: disarmament, reparations, war crime trials, everything. "Send down the arrest teams," ordered. "I want every officer who was at New Haven. I want every official who approved the attack. I want them all." Went down with the arrest teams. He had asked to be there, needed to be there. When they found hiding in a government bunker, was the one who put the restraints on him. Looked at with his 6 eyes. "I was following orders," he said. "I was doing my duty." "So were the guards at the death camps in human history," replied. "It didn't save them either." The trials were broadcast across the galaxy. Officers stood before human judges and answered for their crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. The footage from New Haven played in courtrooms. 47,000 faces. 47,000 lives ended for nothing but conquest and entertainment. Some were executed. Some received life sentences. Was among those executed, though he never understood why. In his mind, he had just been doing what always did, taking from the weak. He died confused, wondering why the rules had changed. While the trials continued, humanity from the Galactic Council officially. Earth's ambassador delivered a simple statement: "We joined the Council believing in cooperation and mutual protection. We were betrayed. We will not return." 37 species immediately reached out to Earth privately. Species that had been victims of aggression themselves. Species that the Council had failed to protect. Species that had watched humanity fight back and wondered if they could do the same. Earth formed a new alliance, the Mutual Defense Compact. The rules were simple: attack one member, face all members, no bureaucracy, no debates, just immediate response. 20 species joined in the first month. More followed. The Galactic Council suddenly found its power waning as species chose human protection over council politics. Back on Earth, the New Haven Memorial was completed 1 year after the massacre. It stood in the center of Geneva, where the council headquarters used to be before Earth left. Black stone, 50 meters tall, with 47,000 names carved into it. At the top, one sentence: "They asked for help. We will never fail to answer again." Attended the dedication ceremony. He was older now, gray in his hair, lines in his face. He wore a military uniform again, though he had never wanted to. His new title was Ambassador of Colonial Defense. His job was making sure New Haven never happened again. He stood before the memorial with beside him. She had stayed on Earth, working with the military medical corps, training combat medics. She couldn't go back to peaceful medicine. Every patient reminded her of the hospital at New Haven. "Do you think they'd be proud?" asked, looking at the names, "and all the others of what we became?" Touched his daughter's name, carved forever in black stone. "I don't know, maybe they'd be horrified. We became exactly what we fought, aggressive, militaristic, feared." "But safe," said. "No colony has been attacked since New Haven. The Mutual Defense Compact protects 50 worlds now. That has to count for something." "It does," agreed. "But I wonder sometimes if there was another way, if we could have stayed peaceful." "The galaxy took that choice from us," said. "We didn't want this. They made us into this." Around them, thousands of people stood in silence. Survivors from New Haven, families of the dead, citizens who had watched their species transform in one bloody year. Everyone had the same haunted look in their eyes, the look of people who had learned what they were capable of. Minister Minu spoke at the ceremony. He was 74 now, planning to retire. Project Abyss was no longer secret. The weapons that had saved humanity were now standard military equipment. The arsenal that had been built for emergencies was now Earth's primary defense. "We built this memorial not to celebrate war," Minu said, "but to remember the cost of peace without strength. For 30 years, we believed kindness would protect us. New Haven taught us the truth. Kindness only works when backed by the ability to defend it." He paused, looking at the names. "These people died because we were weak, because we trusted others to protect us, because we thought the galaxy valued life as we did. We were wrong. Now we're strong. Now we can protect our own, but we must never forget why we had to become this way." After the ceremony, ships lifted off from Earth. 70 human warships, heading out to patrol the colonies. The fleet that had been 27 was now 200. Earth's shipyards worked constantly, building more. Some called it an arms race. Some called it humanity's militarization. But to the colonies, it was safety. For the first time since joining the galaxy, humans could sleep without fear. Captain commanded one of those ships now, the Guardian. She patrolled the outer colonies, stopping at each one, showing the flag, reminding everyone that Earth remembered. That Earth cared. That Earth would come if called. At one colony, children asked her if Earth ships were scary. She smiled sadly. "Yes," she said, "they're scary, but they're ours, and they mean you're safe." The Galactic Council tried to adapt. They created new defense protocols, promised faster responses, begged species to stay. Some did. Many didn't. The council that had once governed 200 species now barely controlled 80. Other species started developing their own weapons. The technology race humanity started couldn't be stopped. Within 3 years, 18 species had relativistic missiles. 24 had AI systems. The galaxy was arming itself, each species remembering the lesson of New Haven. Be strong or be prey. The Empire still existed, but barely. They controlled 20 worlds now instead of 200. Their military was limited to system defense forces. They paid reparations to Earth for 50 years. Their former territories became independent, some joining humanity's compact, some standing alone. Commander's legacy was the destruction of everything his empire had built. His name became a curse among the fool who woke the sleeping monster. 5 years after New Haven visited the site, the planet was being terraformed again, slowly returning to life. No one lived there yet. Maybe no one ever would. It was a grave, marked by ruins and memories. He stood where his house had been, where had grown up, where she had practiced her teaching, full of dreams and kindness. The ground was still scorched. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the wind. "I'm sorry we couldn't stay the people you loved, but we had to survive. We had to make sure no one else felt what I felt watching you die." Behind him, Admiral approached. She was retired now, teaching at the military academy. Her students called her the hero of Prime. She hated the title. "Still coming here?" she asked. "Every year," said, remembering who we were before. "Do you regret it, what we did?" "Thought for a long time. I regret that we had to do it, but I don't regret doing it. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense," said. "I think about those 8 minutes at Prime every day. The moment we stopped being victims and became something else. Sometimes I'm proud. Sometimes I'm terrified. Most times both." They stood in silence, two old soldiers looking at the grave of innocence. Around them, Earth's patrol ships crossed the sky, constant and vigilant. The galaxy had learned humanity's lesson. The species that had been mocked as weak farmers and traders was now the most feared military power in known space. Not because they wanted to be, but because 47,000 deaths had awakened something dark in humanity's heart. The ability to be kind, yes, but also the ability to be terrible. And the wisdom to know when each was needed. "Touch the scorched ground one last time. We won't forget," he promised. "We'll never forget." Above him, the memorial's words echoed across the galaxy, broadcast from every human colony, carved into every human ship, whispered by every human child learning their history. They asked for help. We will never fail to answer again. Humanity had joined the galaxy as friends. They had been forced to stay as guardians, and they would never allow another new haven, not to their people, not to anyone under their protection. The massacre had awakened humanity's darkest capabilities, but it had also awakened their greatest strength, the absolute refusal to let evil win through their inaction. The galaxy would never forget New Haven, and humanity would make sure of it.